What's good? Just right into something. Let's just get into the fucking video, dog.
Adolf Hitler. When Soviet tanks rumbled through the streets of Berlin in late April 1945, Adolf Hitler knew his empire had crumbled. The man who once commanded millions was now trapped underground like a rat. Hitler spent his final days in a concrete bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery, surrounded by a shrinking circle of loyalists who watched their Fuhrer deteriorate before their eyes. On April 29th, he married his longtime companion Eva Braun in a bizarre midnight ceremony. The next day, April 30th, 1945, Hitler said his final goodbyes. Around 3:30 in the afternoon, he and Eva retreated to their private quarters. What happened next was confirmed by those who found them. Hitler had bitten into a cyanide capsule and shot himself in the head simultaneously. Eva died beside him, having only consumed the poison.
Why the fuck did he shoot himself in the head?
Doused with gasoline in the Reich Chancellery garden and set ablaze while Soviet artillery boomed in the distance. The man who'd sent millions to their deaths in camps and battlefields chose to escape judgment by his own hand, leaving nothing but charred remains and a legacy of horror. He was 56 years old. News of Hitler's death spread across the world, marking the end of the European theater of World War II, and spawning decades of conspiracy theories about whether he really died or somehow escaped. Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini spent his final hours running. The Italian dictator who'd once strutted on balconies preaching about a new Roman Empire was now disguised in a German military coat, trying to flee to Switzerland. On April 27, 1945, communist partisans stopped a German convoy at a checkpoint near Lake Como. Among the soldiers, they found Il Duce himself, the great fascist leader, hiding like a common criminal. Mussolini and his mistress, Clara Petacci, were pulled from the convoy and held overnight. The next day, April 28th, a partisan leader named Walter Audisio arrived with orders to execute them. Accounts vary on the exact details, but what's certain is this: Mussolini and Petacci were taken to a villa gate in the small village of Giulino di Mezzegra and shot with a submachine gun. The partisans loaded the bodies.
So you're sure you motherfuckers with machine guns, bitches, is not Call of Duty? Niggas, this is real life, nigga.
Into a van and drove them to Milan, to a place called Piazzale Loreto. This wasn't random. Months earlier, Mussolini's regime had executed 15 partisans and left their bodies on display at that exact location. Now it was his turn. When the truck arrived at dawn on April 29th, Mussolini, Petacci, and several other executed fascist officials were dumped on the ground. A crowd gathered quickly, and things got ugly fast. People kicked the corpses, spat on them, fired at them again. One woman reportedly fired 5 more times into Mussolini's body, once for each.
Okay. I see 2 times, but 5, nigga. That nigga must did something to your ass, nigga.
Of her dead sons. Then came the finale. The bodies were hung upside down from the roof of a gas station. The crowd went wild, jeering and celebrating beneath the corpses. News of Mussolini's
So y'all celebrating while niggas is hung.
brutal death flashed across the world, signaling the definitive collapse of fascist Italy and marking a symbolic turning point in the final unraveling of World War II. Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-il ruled North Korea for 17 years with an iron grip, maintaining one of the most isolated and oppressive regimes on earth. He cultivated a personality cult so extreme that state propaganda claimed he could control the weather and didn't need to use the bathroom. But in December 2011, the man who'd been portrayed as nearly superhuman died from something decidedly human, a heart attack. On December 17, 2011, Kim Jong-il was traveling by train through North Korea when he suffered a massive heart attack, reportedly brought on by physical and mental stress. He was 69 years old. North Korean state media didn't announce his death until 2 days later, on December 19th, claiming he died at 8:30 a.m. on his train while on a field guidance tour. The announcement described him passing during a great mental and physical strain while dedicating himself to the nation. Official reports said he'd been suffering from diabetes and heart disease for years, though the regime had hidden this from the public. When the news finally broke, North Korean television showed anchor Ri Chun-hee dressed in black, weeping as she announced the dear leader's passing. State media broadcast footage of citizens collapsing in theatrical grief, wailing in the streets and bowing before his portraits. Whether the grief was genuine or performed out of fear, the spectacle was surreal. Kim Jong-il's body was embalmed and placed on display in a glass coffin at the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun in Pyongyang, lying in state alongside his father Kim Il-sung. Unlike many dictators who met violent ends, Kim Jong-il died of natural causes, never facing justice for the starvation, imprisonment, and execution of countless North Koreans. He passed power seamlessly to his son, Kim Jong-un, ensuring the dynasty.
Damn, how much? Why the fuck they all look like each other? Damn, Kim John, who the fuck is? Damn, what is the next Kim?
Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin ruled through terror for nearly 3 decades, but in the end, that same terror might have killed him. On the night of March 1st, 1953, Stalin hosted one of his infamous late-night dinners at his dacha near Moscow. He drank heavily with his inner circle of Soviet officials, the same men who lived in constant fear of purges and midnight arrests. Around 4 a.m., Stalin dismissed everyone and retired to his private quarters. Then something happened. Hours passed. Stalin always summoned his guards and staff by mid-morning, but March 2nd came and went with silence from his room. Here's where it gets darkest. His guards and household staff knew something was wrong, but they were absolutely terrified to enter without being called. Stalin had cultivated such a climate of fear that his own people were too scared to check if he was alive. By the time someone finally worked up the courage to peek inside that...
You scared to check if a nigga alive? I mean, I'm not even gonna try to make fun of it. I can merch. You can merch. I'll be scared too, but sometimes, bro, life is just life, bro. Everybody gotta die one day. And that's sad to say. Cause like people like Kai, P, everybody achieve all these goals just to fucking die. And that shit is really crazy, man.
Evening. They found the 74-year-old dictator
and then get forget about in like 3 years.
Partially paralyzed from a massive stroke. He'd been there for nearly 12 hours. Medical help was summoned, but the delay had done its damage. Stalin lingered for days, unable to speak, his face contorted, slowly dying while doctors tried desperately to save him. Some historians believe his guards delayed on purpose. Others think his own officials might have poisoned him or withheld help intentionally. On March 5th, 1953, at 9:50 p.m., Stalin finally died.
Notice all these days I wasn't even alive.
The announcement triggered mass public mourning across the Soviet Union, but privately, many breathed sighs of relief as his reign came to an end. Rafael Trujillo ruled the Dominican Republic like his personal kingdom for 31 brutal years, ordering assassinations, tortures, and disappearances with casual cruelty. But on the night of May 30th, 1961, the hunter became the hunted. Trujillo was being driven on a highway outside Santo Domingo when several cars suddenly blocked his route. A group of Dominican conspirators, many of them military officers who'd once served under him, emerged with weapons. They'd been planning this for months, with quiet support from the CIA.
They backdoored that nigga?
Gone. The 69-year-old dictator's car was riddled with bullets. Some accounts say Trujillo tried to fight back, pulling out his own pistol and firing at his attackers before being shot multiple times. Within minutes, El Jefe, the chief, was dead on the side of the road, his body torn apart by gunfire. The conspirators loaded his corpse into one of their cars and drove away, unsure what to do next. Trujillo's body ended up stored in the trunk of a car for hours while the assassins debated their next move. Eventually, his remains were recovered by loyalist forces. What followed was chaos. Some conspirators were caught and executed. Others fled, and the country descended into political turmoil. For a ruler so brutal, Trujillo's end was fittingly the same. Nicolae Ceausescu. Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu spent Christmas Day 1989 facing a firing squad, and the whole thing was captured on video after ruling Romania with an iron fist for over 2 decades.
I'm sorry. So you mean to tell me these niggas died on Christmas? So dying was their Christmas gift. The worst time to die is on Christmas, my nigga.
The Ceausescus watched their power evaporate during the country's anti-communist revolution. On December 22nd, they attempted to flee Bucharest by helicopter as protests overwhelmed the capital. They were captured within hours. 3 days later, on Christmas Day, they stood trial in a small room at a military base in Targovist. The trial was a rushed affair, lasting barely an hour, with charges of genocide and embezzlement, among others. The elderly couple appeared confused and defiant, with Elena repeatedly protesting that the proceedings were illegal. The verdict was never in doubt. Guilty, death sentence. Minutes after the trial concluded, Nicolae and Elena were led outside to a courtyard wall, soldiers lined up. The couple was given no chance to say goodbye or make final statements beyond their protests during the trial. The firing squad opened fire, and both Ceausescus dropped dead almost instantly, their bodies riddled with over 100 bullets.
Damn!
Was filmed.
Fuck you mean you shot them 100 times? The fuck they do?
And that evening, Romanian television broadcast the news, along with footage proving they were dead. The footage spread internationally, shocking viewers who watched a longtime communist leader go from power to...
y'all put footage of them dying on the news?
Pol Pot, the architect of Cambodia's genocide that killed up to 2 million people, died quietly in a jungle hut in 1998. After the Khmer Rouge regime fell in 1979, Pol Pot fled into the jungle near the Thai border where he lived as a fugitive for nearly 2 decades. By 1998, he was 73 years old,
Excuse me, what
under
the
house
fuck was
arrest
that?
by a splinter faction of his own former movement. On April 15, 1998, Pol Pot died in his sleep, reportedly from heart failure. The timing was suspicious. Just days earlier, remaining Khmer Rouge leaders had agreed to hand him over for an international war crimes trial. Instead, he escaped justice by dying in a bamboo. The Khmer Rouge, knowing how skeptical the world would be, did something macabre. They displayed Pol Pot's corpse to journalists, inviting them to photograph the body to prove he was
Damn, I
truly dead.
stank. My boy
Images of
stinks.
his lifeless body appeared in newspapers globally. There would be no trial, no accountability, no chance for victims to face him in court. The butcher of Cambodia had literally died in his sleep and avoided answering for millions of deaths. His body was cremated on a makeshift pyre of tires and
Dog,
trash.
I literally
The
have
pathetic end for a
school
man who'd orchestrated
in
industrial
5
steel
minutes.
murder. Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein's
Sadly, we cannot react to this whole fucking video. Sadly, we cannot react to the whole video. Like, comment, subscribe, join us on YouTube. We live every fucking day. Without further ado, love y'all. 100K for life. Peace.